Hey guys, it's Kerry, and in this video we're going to be building a drum kit web app website. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating this website which allows you to play your keyboard using these buttons, A, S, D, F, space, etc. in order to play the drums. So here's a little demo from last year of how it's supposed to work. I don't think you'll be able to hear the sound, so I'll probably hum along with it, even though it's cringy. So here we go. I'm going to do a sick beat. Oh, no, wait, hold up. Here we go. Dun, dun, da, dun, 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 da. Dun, dun, da, dun, 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 da. Okay, cool. So that's what we're going to be building. So I'm going to close this one down, and we're going to take a look at this year's version. So I've changed out a couple of colors. And for now, I'd like you to leave the website as it is, in terms of the CSS. And then if you finish the JavaScript early, you can go back and change out the colors for your own preference. So let's get started. The way that we're starting this project is we've already got a lot of starter code in front of us. And I'm going to just separate this out. Let me just bring that over here, because that will enable me to kind of go back and forth easily between the programming view and the completed view. All right, so let's see. We've got a lot of code already in front of us. So the first thing to look at here is the files. So we have the normal HTML, JavaScript, and CSS files. We've also got a bunch of sound files, very similar to your soundboard. These ones are .wav, just a different file format than .mp3, but they're sounds as well. If we look at the HTML page, we've got the normal stuff. But then here we've got a div with a class of content, and that's going to store all of the content. And then within that div, we have some smaller divs, and each of these is going to correspond to a drum. So this one is this drum, the clap drum will be this one, and most of these have IDs on them already, although the later ones you'll have to add the IDs to when you get up to those. And then within that drum, there's a paragraph that says what sound it's making, boom, and then a paragraph that says what key we need to press, which is A in this case. All right, so let's head over to the JavaScript, and we've already got some starter code here, which is really nice. So I went through and oh wow, I actually have a small typo here. Let me just fix that on mine, but you won't have to worry about this on yours. It looks like I forgot the ID part. So it looks like I've already selected kind of all of the audio elements, which we didn't see yet, but you should see them down here. So you've got a whole bunch of audio elements, one for each file. And then I've also selected a lot of the divs. And now that we're going to be able to mix these things. So the way that we want to mix them is a little bit different in this project. We're not going to be clicking these with the mouse. Instead, the event that we're going to be working with is when we press keys down on the keyboard. So let's see how that event looks. Create a key down event listener. So I'm going to go over to my toolbox. I'm going to copy and paste the event listener tool into my code. The element that's going to be listening for events here is going to be the entire window. And that's different, right? Before we used to have to say which of these divs we were going to click, but in this case we want the whole window to listen. And the event type that we want to listen for is a key down event. So in order to see if this is working, I'm going to do a console.log, and I'm just going to log like this screaming sound, every time we press the key down. So let's see if that works here. I'm going to open up the JavaScript console. And I'm going to refresh. All right, let's see. So every time I'm pressing a key on my keyboard, it is now screaming out, ah, awesome. So the next part of this that we have to worry about is basically when we press different keys, we want to do different things. And that feels like we have many different options. So this is starting to feel like I'm going to need an if, else if, etc. in order to decide what sounds to play. But I think before I get there, I have to figure out what key is being pressed. And so one of the nice things about JavaScript events is when this event happens, it creates a variable within the system called the event that stores information about what type of event it was. Was it a mouse click? Was it a keyboard press? And then depending on the event type, a lot of information about the event. Which button was pressed? Was it the left cursor or the right cursor that was clicked, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that event into this function, the same way that we could plug x into functions in Algebra 2. And in order to work with this event, what I'm going to do is every time a key is pressed, instead of logging this random scream, I'm going to log out the event and see what that looks like. So here we go. So you can see that every time I press a key now on my keyboard, it's creating a log of that event variable, that event object. And it looks like when I click on this, let's see. So it was a keyboard event. Awesome. And then it has a lot of information like what button was pressed here, the key. That feels like it's going to be useful. It tells me if the shift key was pressed at the same time. I won't need that in this project, but it might be useful in a future one to be able to tell if the shift key was pressed or if the control key was pressed, etc. A lot of this is a little bit confusing. But the part that we need is when we trigger an event, it creates this event variable. And the part of the event variable that we need to access is which key is being pressed. So here when I pressed the A key, it looks like key is A. Here was the D key, let's see. So I pressed D, and then the key is D. So what I'm going to do now is instead of logging the entire event into the console, I'm going to go into that event variable, that event object, and log just the key. And what this should do is, instead of logging the entire event, now it will just log the key. So let me refresh it. And now as I press different buttons, you can see that the key that I'm pushing, that was the space bar, the enter, period. There's lots of keys that you can push on your keyboard, and it will just log whichever button we pressed. All right, so I think I'm ready here. Instead of just logging this, I want to say let key pressed equal event.key. And what I'm doing here is I'm storing in this variable which key the user pressed. And then what I can do is I'm going to delete the console.log. And I can say basically here, depending on which key was pressed, do different things. So let me grab that functionality from my toolbox as well. Oh, it's so gross, the way that this copies and pastes. I discovered this new function here. So when you copy and paste it, if it looks gross like mine did, you can just click this format script code, and it will automatically do the nice indenting for you. So I love doing that now. All right, let's see. I like to build this up kind of one step at a time. So I'm going to delete off all of these extra else ifs, and I'm just going to start with 2 of them. So here we go. If the key pressed is A, then I want to play the boom sound. So to play sounds, we have that as well in our toolbox. Oh, no, we don't. OK, I'll have to add that to the toolbox. But I remember from my soundboard project that to play a sound, basically I would say, take the sound elements, boom, set the current time to 0, and then do boom.play. All right, so if I press the A key, it should do that. If I leave this code, I'm going to have an error, so I'm not going to test it yet. I'm going to say, else if I pressed the S key, I want to play the clap sound. So I'll do some copying and pasting here. Ooh, wow. Some copying and pasting. Hopefully I didn't just type something random. And this time I want to do clap, because clap is the audio element that corresponds with S. So I'll do clap.play. And let me do one more of these. I'm going to copy and paste this, else if. And if I press the D key instead, then the sound that I want to play is hi-hat, and they're both lowercase. So here we go. I'll change both of these to hi-hat. And now I should have a kind of working drum kit. Let me see if the sounds are playing. So I've refreshed my web app, and you won't be able to hear these, I don't think, but boom, boom, boom. It is playing. Awesome. Clap, clap, clap. Awesome. It's playing, and then hi-hat is playing as well. Awesome. And I've got the fave icon error, as we talked about before. That just means I haven't set an icon. If I refresh it again, that will go away, and I'm not concerned about it. All right, so let's see. At this point, you basically have a drum kit with three working instruments, and you can get the rest of the buttons working doing something similar. I thought something nice to do, though, would be, what if we had a visual that corresponded to kind of each of these being pressed? So that also gives us an opportunity to learn some more JavaScript code. So when we press this, what I'm imagining is maybe some sort of transformation will occur to it. Maybe it will spin in place or get bigger or something, and maybe the color will change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a set of styles that stand for when the drum is active. So I'm going here to the style.css, and below the drums style, I'm going to say, let me create a new class called active. And when something is active, I want the background to be some sort of pink. That seems flashy. So let me go over here and find like a nice pink. Yeah, that looks cool. And I also want to transform it so that it's a little bit bigger, like 120% of what it originally was. So now if I refresh this and I start to play my drums, it still makes the sounds, but I don't have these active visuals being applied yet to the divs. So let me just program that in. So here, when I push the A key, I want to take this div, which is boom div, and I want to do boom div dot class list dot add, and then the one I'm going to add is I'm going to add the active class to it. So let me just get that working for the A key, and then I can copy and paste for the other ones. So here we go. Okay, awesome. It turns active. That's really cool. So when I press it, it shoots up and it's active. I'm thinking that it's a little bit too immediate. I have some other problems too, but it's a little bit too immediate. I'd like it to transition into this. So I'm going to say for the drums that we should add a style property of a transition time of 1 second to the drum, so that whenever properties change, they transition over the course of a second. Let's see if this looks a little better. Cool, that's nice. Okay, let's see. What else can I do? Oh, well, it's staying active. I need it to reset back to its inactive state. So inside of the JavaScript, when we press the A key, it's going to play the boom sound. And then it's going to change the styles. And then what I want to do is I want it to wait like maybe a second and then change this back to the original style. So in order to do that, I'm going to use a function called setTimeout. And this creates a pause in JavaScript. And the format for how this works is we tell it what function to run. And then here we tell it in milliseconds. So 1,000 milliseconds would be 1 second. Here we tell it how long to wait. So I guess what I want to do is I want to say add active as the class for this. And then after 1 second, I don't want to be active anymore. So I'm going to say take the boom div. And instead of adding this class, I'm going to remove it. So let's see if that works now, as intended. And you can see that it's kind of going back and forth in between this active and inactive state. And I think I'm ready to copy and paste this into my other ones. So here, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put this here. And I can see that I'm doing a good job of placing that because I want this to be inside of the else if code block so that if the key is S, from this curly parenthesis to this curly parenthesis, all of this will run. But I need to change boom div here to, I believe this one is called clap div. Yep. And the other one is hi-hat div. So let me clap div, hi-hat div, oof, the autocorrect there, and hi-hat div. Okay, cool. All right, I think it's looking good here. Let's see if they're all working now. All right, well, they're definitely transforming. This is looking good. I still have a couple of drum sounds left to play. I just wanted to show you guys one more thing, that you can actually add a lot of different transform effects onto your drums. So let me just Google transform CSS. And here we can see that there's actually a lot of transformations that we can apply. And I think I'm inspired by applying multiple transformations here. So let me just apply as part of my active class in the CSS. Instead of just scaling it, I'm going to make it move. So I'm going to do a translate in the Y direction, which I'm stealing from here. And I'm going to have it translate upwards, which is negative Y on a computer, negative 100 pixels. And I'm also going to have it rotate, because I'm seeing rotate here. And it looks like rotate needs a degree value. So I'm going to put in 1080 degrees, because I want it to spin a lot. So let's just see how this looks. And you can really mess around with these different values and create some pretty cool effects for your drum kit. So in order to finish this project, please program it so that these other divs, when these buttons are pressed, it plays these sounds by adding extra else if statements here. And also, please, when you're done, change the styles so that you have your own unique transformations, your own unique colors, and your own unique background image by substituting out the values from our style sheet. I hope you guys enjoy having your own drums, and you enjoyed building this. Bye.